Whenever you're ready, Dr. Monroe.
Yes, sir. All right, good afternoon, everyone. We call this meeting of the Winterville Planning and Zoning Board for April 19th, 2021 to order. The time is now 7 o'clock. Again, welcome to all our board members, those who are online and those who are in the office. So again, welcome. And so at this time, do we have any excused absences?
I have not received any requests for excused absences, no, sir.
All right. And we do have a quorum. So with that in mind, you've had a chance to see the agenda for tonight's in your board packet. I entertain a motion to approve or the pleasure of the board for tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve agenda. Doug Killian.
Second.
So we've got a motion to approve by Mr. Killian and a second by Ms. Peggy Clyburn. So I will let everybody know we have in person attendance Mike Weldon, Margie Crawford, and Peggy Clyburn, and then staff, myself, Brian Jones, and town clerk, Don Harvey, as well as the applicant for tonight's action request, Mr. Kenneth Smith. We have online Ms. Darlene Gardner, Dr. Gregory Monroe, Douglas Killian, and Tucker Moore. So I think we've got everybody accounted for other than Mr. Rondi Fleming. So if he joins us, we'll make sure to note that he joined us. All right, so we've got a motion and a second on the floor. I'll go through the roll call for the town clerk. 1 second. All right, so once I call your name, just yay or nay will be fine. So Gregory Monroe?
Yes.
Douglas Killian?
Yes.
Peggy Clyburn?
Yes.
Margie Crawford?
Yes.
Rondi Fleming? Not with us yet. Darlene Gardner?
Yes, sorry.
Mike Weldon?
Yes.
And Tucker Moore?
Yes.
All right, the agenda is approved. You've had the chance to read the minutes from the March regular meeting, excuse me. Will entertain a motion to the pleasure of the board.
Doug Killian, motion to approve.
Ms. Margie beat you to it, so I got a motion by Ms. Margie Crawford and a second by Douglas Killian. All in favor, sound off upon roll call. Gregory Monroe?
Yes.
Douglas Killian?
Yes.
Peggy Clyburn?
Yes.
Margie Crawford?
Yes.
Rondi Fleming? Darlene Gardner?
Yes.
Michael Weldon?
Yes.
Tucker Moore?
Yes.
All right, the next item, item 6, new business. The rezoning request for Kenneth Smith property, Brookstone Phase 2.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to go through the regular presentation. If you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me. We'll go through and have the public comment session, and Mr. Kenneth Smith will be available for any questions as well. So as you stated, it is Mr. Kenneth Smith.
Sorry, it's pink, it's good.
Okay. So described as Kenneth Smith property for the application purposes, but I put in the parentheses Brookstone Phase 2 because it is the essentially going to be Phase 2 of that subdivision. This is a rezoning request. So the applicant is Kenneth Smith Properties. It's located, this is out Church Street. If you don't know where it's at, it's Church Street, extension south of this intersection with Park Road. Parcel number 70650, 27.05 acres. Current zoning district is R15 and the proposed zoning district is R10. Good evening, Mr. Fleming. make note you're with us, so we'll make a note on right now on the roll sheet.
Okay.
So the adjacent property owners were mailed notification of this rezoning request on March 30th, and notification was posted on the site March 26th. So just a little bit of site history for you. So this initial rezoning of R15 conditional use district was approved way back in January of 2006. That preliminary plat was then submitted for Brookstone and was subsequently approved May 8th, 2006. Brookstone Phase 1 final plat was not approved until the following year and recorded in August of 2007. So they built out that first phase as far as infrastructure, and it's sat for a while just because of the 2008 bubble bursting. So in 2019, you had about 22 lots in there, and that conditional use permit or conditional use district was amended to go from a requirement of, the main requirement of 25% of the homes had to be all brick facade. So town council approved to have that amended to just having all homes have 25% stone or brick facade. So just a little bit of site history for you guys. So you can see here, there's our, get this out of the way. Okay, so there's your site outlined in blue there. You see obviously Church Street here. There's the church across the road. Here's the property, David Evans, that we just saw a couple months ago. Park Road's a little bit up north, and south would be Reedy Branch. And so you see Streamside Lane and there, but this will be the UNC land if you guys are familiar with that. Here's just an overlay of the zoning request map. So obviously the same parcel. So here's your current zoning. Sorry, I highlighted the wrong property there, but it's this property there. So you can see, obviously this has changed. It hasn't been updated in our system yet, but this would be a R8 conditional district. This would be R15 conditional district. There's the Shrine Club here, and then church here, railroad here. So existing land use map. For the majority of this property on Church Street, the southern portion of Church Street, it's going to be a mix of residential and open ag land. So you can see the land use plan just calls it vacant, but most of it is being tended. So future land use plan calls it suburban residential. So that's our character area in our future land use plan. Suburban residential is described as primary, large lot, single family, detached residential that many people love about the town's housing stock. Generally 2 to 3 dwelling units per acre, larger lots with front and side loaded garages, smaller lot sizes occasionally if minimum standards for open space and amenities are exceeded. So you see just a little bit more description for our character area as far as the future land use plan goes. One of the things I like to look at when we do a staff report is potential zonings. So most of our potential zonings residential are going to list most of our districts, but you can see R10 is listed as a potential zoning district. So you can see densities 1 to 3 per acre, and I'll like some more information on that in a second. But there's the property as it stands now. Obviously, it's barricaded off to stop people from going in there. So this is where it stops. Open field back here. So all that land back here is the potential development. So as always, I like to give a staff recommendation, but so some site details. So combined with the existing subdivision, those are really, really big lots up front. The density of the proposed zoning district would meet the density recommendations of the land use plan. Simply that means when you look at a neighborhood as a whole, it would fit in with the suburban area, character area. When you're looking at, I think it's around 70 acres total. I think this one's about 50 acres, right?
Between my two tracks, yes.
So when you combine them all, you're looking at the density requirements. would potentially meet that requirement. So planning staff does find the request is reasonable and in the public interest, because proposed zoning district is compatible with surrounding land uses and the future land use plan. So staff does recommend approval of this request, to, R10. So our rezoning process always starts with you guys at the planning and zoning board. So you guys will make the recommendation to town council, and a public hearing will be scheduled at the next town council meeting. That public, hearing will be, June 14th. So the council will make a decision and, weigh it off of your recommendation. So public comment section, or session, I did have one comment received via email, and I'll read it out loud right now. So via email dated April 13th, 2021, Willard and Lottie Joyner at Lot 7 in Brookstone are opposed to the proposed zoning request. The request doesn't state that it will be part of the already established Brookstone subdivision, but since it will be adjoining, we feel that it should be zoned the same. It's always about the cost, but I think if you build a good quality home, it's a greater benefit to the community. And that's the only comment I've received to date. I don't know if the town clerk has received anything as of 5 o'clock, and he's shaking his head that he has not received anything. So with that being said, I'll answer any questions to the board. And as I stated before, Mr. Smith is available for questions as well.
Okay, and there is no one online or in the office that's for public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions from the board for staff or Mr. Smith? Mr. Killian?
Thank you. I had several questions, and I probably not in any specific order. Brian, could you tell me, and I'll probably misstate what the subdivision to the north is? It's Holly Grove, and what is that density? What is our designation?
So there are R12, R12 and a half. I'm just positive of that.
That's fine. It's our 12 and a half.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Thank you. And I know we're not in the final design phase of this, and I'm sorry, but I have a question about another second entrance. Is there going to be a second entrance highway into this? Or are we going to have?
So the original.
Go ahead.
No, so yeah, they'll be required to stub out to the adjacent properties. So back there, so that land to the north and south, they'll be required to provide access where possible.
Excuse me, we'll have two access from Church Street, is that what you're saying?
No, ma'am. So you'll have that one entrance from Church Street, but you'll have interior access. So eventually, the goal would be to have, eventually you'd have two accesses, because you'd be able to meander from Holly Grove all the way down through and get to it that way. If ideally you would have a network of roads that will allow you to get from Church Street all the way up to Lori Ellis. And I can kind of
Well, now, currently, is there an access at all now other than going to Brookstone?
No, ma'am.
That's it, because when I went out to look, that's all I saw.
That's it, yep.
But there will be one entrance directly from Church Street.
Got it.
Okay, that answers that.
Brian, just to clarify, there will be no additional entrances in this development as proposed, correct?
Not off of Church Street, no, sir.
Okay, so there'll be, and I did a quick count, there's roughly 30 lots in the first phase, and I'm gonna guess there's gonna be 30 plus lots in the second phase. So we're looking at 60 to 70 lots with one entrance at this time. Does that meet minimum requirements?
So technically, yes, it would, because what we'll make them do is provide those access points to stub out to the adjacent property owners. So it would, once we see the preliminary plat, that'll be one of the requirements on it, obviously, is we want to have interconnection to the adjoining property owners. But if the question is, there's no way to go back to Church Street and give another entrance
So
at this time.
So at this time, and it could be for 1 year, it could be for much longer, there will be 60 to 70 lots through one entrance, and that's the only, and does that meet the minimum standard? That's my question.
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay.
It's not unlike most subdivisions you're gonna see that are gonna be phased out. Take Eli's Ridge, and I'll use Eli's Ridge as a comparison to this one because it kind of does mirror a little bit to it. So Eli's Ridge right now is gonna have one entrance all the way, so that was planned out to be 232 lots. So the first phase is about 47 lots, I think. So as they go deeper and deeper into that subdivision, it's just gonna add on to that one entrance. So that the other entrance only comes to play when they actually make that connection to Lori Ellis Road on the other side. This subdivision would also kind of correlate with Eli's Ridge because there's two different zoning districts in that as well. So you've got R10 and R8 in the Eli's Ridge. So R10 up front with the slightly larger lots, and then you're gonna have a little bit more density in the rear back toward the Lori Ellis Road with the R8. So this would kind of mirror that, where you're gonna have those R15 lots and then the R10 lots in the back. So you're gonna get a little bit more density in the back, but you're gonna have eventual connectivity to the adjacent properties when those properties develop. And I will say, there's never a certainty in real estate and development, but there is a ton of interest in all that property around this right now. So we would definitely get that connection from this phase of Brookstone for sure.
Okay, one further thing, and then I'll yield the microphone. Going back to the comprehensive land use document, which was passed in 2019, and you read it, Brian, but the potentials go from the suburban residential description. It said typically R20, R15, or R12.5. R10 or R8 if additional open spaces or amenities are provided. At this point, we're asked to approve an R10 with no justification or guarantee that the amenities or open space will be provided. I'm against it on that reason. I don't see how I can approve it. This board typically has gone for R12.5. I agree that Eli's Ridge was passed by the town board as an R10, R8, but this board did not at that time sanction that. We wanted R12.5, and I still maintain R12.5 is better consistent with the R15 existing in the phase one of this subdivision, and I'm opposed to going to R10. Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment next, if I could, please.
So, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Peggy wants to ask some questions or make a comment.
Okay.
I too have a concern about, as you stated, the interest in this particular community, this section of town now. So I think it's important we set the right tone for the growth that we're going to experience out there. I did an analysis a couple of years ago, and there were about 15 R10 subdivisions, less than 5 or 6 12.5, and about 5 R15s. And now we're going directly from an R15 down to an R10, and we're surrounded by R15, special uses now, it's a new term, and an R20. And I feel that certainly we should not go below an R12.5. That would be my recommendation.
So, Brian, you, in your presentation, and I remember the meeting when Brookstone came and wanted to have the amendment so that they could finish building out. And now I'm confused a little bit by the request and the one email message that we got. So the rezoning request is, and say it to me plain so I can understand it. What is it being asked to be rezoned from to?
So right now, there's the undeveloped portion, in the rear part. So if you look at, it would be from a R15 to R10. So essentially, so right now they have an R15 zoning designation, but they're asking for an R10.
Right, and so the amendment to Brookstone that came several years ago, so that they could, I think, with the brick facades and those particular things, did we also allow them to, we decrease some of that as well, or was that not changed? It was on a piece.
No, the lot layout and the layout of the subdivision didn't change at all. That had already been recorded,
Mhm.
so it was already on the ground. So they just wanted to change the requirement to place all brick homes in there with that brick facade requirement.
Okay, and so now they want to go from an art, and that is the phase one, because my assumption was based on the agenda that phase two, that this is still part of the Brookstone subdivision development. Is it not?
So yeah, and I'll give a little bit of, so this one has been sitting so long, they would have to start from scratch anyway. So that preliminary plat really, even though it was a concept of a whole subdivision, the way the ordinance reads, if you don't final plat a preliminary plat within a certain amount of time, then you kind of go back to the drawing board and start over. So they're back at square one anyway. So it's always from my understanding, the developer just wants to go back in, try to get a little bit more density back there, and rework that subdivision or that phase of it.
Ryan,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, there was only one couple opposed,
Right.
okay? And they have a lot out there.
Right.
So evidently, they don't have a home built yet.
They actually, well, it said lot 7, but they actually live in a house, so they're probably one of the original Brookstone families out there. So when you go in and take a left on Streamside, they're down there on the left. So they were actually in there before the newer houses were built. So there is a house in there, yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, how many homes is out there? Do you know?
Right now, I think there's 33 or 34, if I'm not mistaken.
So we only have one couple opposed?
That we got notification from, that's right, yeah. So, but everybody in that neighborhood, plus the surrounding adjacent property owners, were all, notified of it. So we sent out about, I've got it in myself, I think we sent out 45 or 50 notifications about this one, plus posted in the on the site, so.
Okay.
I think
Chairman?
Mr. Kelly had his hand up earlier.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Did someone have Mr. Killian?
Just one further comment. I was in the board at both not the original, because that was way back in the early 2000s, but when it came out of bankruptcy and they wanted to do the reduction of the brick and stone, and the people came out from the subdivision and were opposed to it, and we ended up going along with the request because it was and I can't remember the name of the builder. It was a national builder, and he assured us that it was going to be a wonderful looking homes. And I will give you one observation that I have. If you drive through the new part of that subdivision, it is a lower class home than the original. There are no eaves on to speak of, and there's sure no overhangs on the end of the house on the roof, and it's a much poorer quality home than originally was in there. And I hate to see any more degradation of that subdivision. Imagine being an original homeowner in there and going from good to bad to worse. I just don't want to see it, and I'm opposed, and this is part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll let Mr. Smith speak to that if you don't mind.
Well, originally it was sold to a group of investors out of Virginia, and I can't remember the name either. And then I don't know if they actually went bankrupt, but they pretty much lost out. and then they sold to another group, which I think requested the change in the brick and stone, which I'm not working with either of those groups. I haven't agreed to sell it to anybody yet, so, but what I want the board to realize, lot size has no direct correlation to house size or quality. There's some 6,000 square foot lots that have $2 million houses on them. There are some 1 acre lots that have $50,000 houses. So just because we're asking for a smaller lot does not mean we're gonna build a smaller or cheaper house. It just basically what boils down to, when you have sewer and you're tied to sewer, your expenses for the subdivision is drastically higher. So this ordinance that you have is designed for some sewer and septic. You cannot afford as a developer to take a 1 acre lot, put curb and gutter, sewer, water, and all that. The lot would cost $70,000, $80,000 because of the infrastructure cost. So what we do is try to scale the lot back a little bit to bring our lot costs down so we can sell the lots at a reasonable price so a builder could go in and buy it and build a reasonable house. So I foresee a quality house on a small lot. Again, I'm not trying to put a cheaper house. I'm just trying to get a smaller lot so I can get my lot costs down to where I can sell them. And again, I'm not asking for anything that's not right there within a baseball throws of the property. There's a R8 and there's 2 R8s and a R10, already like 2 baseball throws from it now. When I had the first phase of Brookstone zoned, there was no development there. It was back in 2005 and 6 when I started. And the only people that were against it were in another subdivision that I actually built, the first one I did, and they were on 1 acre lots. And they wanted me to do 1 acre lots with sewer, which it wasn't feasible. So we negotiated down to 17.5. But in today's pricing structure, the way things are expensive, it's just about cost prohibitive to make that big a lot with sewer, curb and gutter, and the way the street requirements the town has, which is normal. But if you have any direct questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Yes, I see somebody raise their hand.
Mr. Killian?
Thank you, Greg. Yes, and I appreciate your explanation. That's very helpful. But I really want to understand, if we go to R10, the requirement is that there's additional open space or amenities to be provided. That's in the comprehensive land use description. So there's a trade-off on the builder's part also. And I just wonder, Mr. Smith, have you seen that in the description, and what might that be? I know we're still in the talk stage, and I can appreciate your cost, concerns, but also we have a concern of trying to maintain what is in the comprehensive land use, and I hope we both can come to an agreement what it could be. Could you tell us what might be the additional open space or amenities?
Unfortunately, I can't now because, as Brian correctly stated, we're basically in the design phase, so we can't lay the lots out and design the road infrastructure without knowing the size of the lot first. So we get to the size of the lot first, and then we lay it out. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be some dead space, and I'll have to ask Brian. So typically, what do other developers do, like the one across the street at R8? So do you have plans for that yet with the Evans property?
No, and
So what did we do there?
so the Evans property was a conditional district of 8,000 square, of an R8 conditional district, with the condition that the minimum lot size will be 10,000 square feet. So essentially, they did
It's
an
the
R.
same thing.
So essentially, they did an R10 they wanted to get a little bit more, narrow lot width, just because of the way that lot's, it's kind of, you got some constraints with Park Road,
Right.
Railroad,
Right.
and then the stream on the other side. So there was there's all kinds of mitigating factors on it too. And I will point out that, when we're analyzing from a staff's perspective, we're looking at kind of like the lot shape and the property shape. So when we're talking about R10, obviously it's not gonna be cookie cutter with this one. It's an irregular shaped lot. So there's no way you're ever gonna get 10,000 square foot blocks. So you're probably gonna have to give and take anywhere from a range of 10,000 to probably 13, maybe even some that are gonna be upwards of half of an acre, just the way the things. I don't know how it's gonna lay out.
And that's exactly, he's exactly right. So I was gonna say that. With if you remember see how that was shaped, I don't know if I'm on camera or not, but there was several triangle there. When we lay this thing out, we're gonna end up with a bunch of odd shaped cul-de-sac lots. So I guarantee if you average the lot square footage out, I'm gonna probably be at that 15,000 or better. So we want to get some of them in the straightaways where we can get down to 10 to bring the cost down, because those two triangles are gonna be terrible. I'm gonna end up with a lot of dead space. And I'm pretty sure I'll have some area there that I can designate, to the town. Cause like the section going back, toward Church Street, I can't put a lot back in there. So I'm almost positive I'm gonna have some space there that could be open space designated back to the town.
And I'll also say from a staff perspective, and the only reason I'm kind of giving a defense on my part is because when I look at a development like this, I'm looking at it as a whole. So I don't take the R10 as a standalone. So I'm looking at that R10 and the R15 that's already there. So just because this piece is going to be R10 doesn't mean that the whole property doesn't meet that zoning or the land use plan. So in my opinion, the whole development, Brookstone Phase 1 and the potential Phase 2 with two different zoning districts will meet the future land use plan character area designation of that 1 to 3 per acre. So even though you're going to have a little bit more density in the back, the takeaway is that the wash will be, it'll meet that density requirement. So you're looking at 27 and some odd, or 27 acres and some change. So if you're looking at just, right now, the preliminary plat, if I'm not mistaken, had 40 or 42 lots on the preliminary plat. Let's just say if he gets 50 or 60, if he gets 50, those are going to be an average of around 20,000 square feet. Well, that's a half an acre. You take it and maybe put 60 in there, and it may drop it down to 17,000, and you'll be hard pressed to squeeze out 3 there. I don't know what is the end all. Obviously, the lot layout is going to look like, but those are kind of my thought processes going through it. And then when me and Stephen kind of sit down and look at these as a staff, on staff level, that's what we're kind of looking at. So just to kind of give you a kind of glimpse into how we look at it. So take that for what it's worth.
Okay.
Don't you think it's all relative, though, if you do 10,000 square feet or 12.5, you're gonna still have those odd shaped lots, and you're gonna have a few that are gonna be.
There will be a lot on this property. You see the 2 triangles? Those triangles, I'll have some lots that'll be close to 3/4 of an acre. So what we're asking is to bring the minimum lot, not down to 10,000, not all of them, the minimum lot. And believe me, in this configuration, we're gonna have very few. So there's gonna be a lot of big lots. There's gonna be lots in this subdivision, even R10, bigger than the first thing, because the first one laid out well. As you can see, the road with lots on each side. Well, this one of those triangles, it's just not gonna work.
Mr. Killian?
Can't hear you.
Okay, I got it straight. I'm sorry. What about retention? And I know we're still in the talk stage, but down there, it's, I can hardly read it, Brian, but it says Brookstone Homeowners Association of Pitt County. Where does all this waste, surface water go from the existing subdivision? Is it gonna have to be taken care of in this phase?
No, I'll answer that, Brian.
Yeah.
It's gonna go, there'll be a separate, retention pond in Phase 2, totally separate.
Is there one in phase one?
Yes.
Right where you were reading, that is a pond right there.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions from the board? And I just want to be reminded that the question before us is that not that they have a plat to present and some of the questions that are that have been asked, but the request is to rezone from R15 to R10. Mr. Smith has denoted that there are no development or no one who have purchased the property at this particular time. And the question is, do we recommend to the town council to approve or not to, or our recommendation? Of course, the final decision would be with the town council. So are there any other questions for Mr. Smith or for staff regarding the request to rezone the Kenneth Smith property from R15 to R10? All right, there be no question. We'll entertain a motion from the pleasure of the board. Either to approve or not to approve.
I make a motion to approve. Margie Crawford.
So Ms. Margie Crawford made a motion to approve.
We have a second.
I second Darlene Gardner.
We got a
Okay,
motion by
motion.
Ms. Margie Crawford. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So we have a motion and a second for the request to rezone the Brookstone Phase 2. Please vote according upon roll call.
Thank you. So Gregory Monroe,
Aye.
Douglas Killian,
Aye.
Peggy Clybourne,
No,
Margie Crawford,
Aye.
Rondi Fleming,
Aye.
Darlene Gardner,
Aye.
Michael Weldon,
Yes.
Tucker Moore.
Yes.
Okay, so the recommendation is to approve. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your time tonight.
Thank you, board. I appreciate it.
Okay, next item, report from staff.
oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, staff.
So you guys saw my monthly report in the agenda packet. A lot of good things going on. We got a lot of zoning permits being issued. Just want to let you know that Eli's Ridge phases 1 and 3 is the final plat, as well as Villa Grande Section 2 final plat. They were approved at the town council meeting last month, so those have been recorded. We'll start seeing houses go up in there soon. We have our zoning ordinance amendments, which you guys saw last month, scheduled for next month's town council meeting. So hopefully we'll get a good outcome on that one as well. Then you're going to see some more ordinance updates in the form of the subdivision ordinance. So hopefully I'll have those to you. I've been trying to get those worked and get to you, but we're so busy. It's kind of one of those things that's taking a back burner. But other than that, do want to let you know that we've been working on getting something for Mr. Robert Briley, just to kind of recognize him and his service to the town. So we're trying not to rush that because we want to make sure we do it and do it right. So hopefully we will more than likely probably get your input from the board's perspective at some point in time. But like I said, just know we haven't forgotten him and won't forget him. But we want to make sure we do it right. So other than that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Are there any comments from board members?
No.
Okay, will we be doing the Market on the Square this season?
I don't know yet. We're kind of waiting. April 30th is the next governor's announcement, so I think that'll tell us a lot of what we can and can't do as far as big outdoor activities. So hopefully, yeah, I'm rooting for it, but we'll see in about 2 weeks what the governor says, and then, we'll take the town manager, let her make that decision, so.
Well, okay. All right. There are no other comments from the board. We're entertaining a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second the motion,
Second.
Lee Fleming.
Okay, you got beat, Mr. Fleming, so I got a motion by Ms. Peggy and a second by Ms. Margie.
All right, please vote your pleasure upon roll call.
Gregory Monroe,
Aye.
Louis Killian,
Aye.
Peggy Claiborne,
Aye.
Margie Crawford,
Aye.
Rodney Fleming,
Yes.
Darlene Gardner,
Aye.
Michael Weldon. Aye. Tucker Moore.
I think he said yes. I saw him answer.
Blink twice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, guys.